Does anybody? It had like a funny little, clever little spelling thing. Nobody remembers it. Nobody remembers it. I feel like it had to do with guns or armed or something. There was like a tweet like that. I don't remember it though.
Who got an
Destiny says bring receipt and then he makes the claim anyway. Well, one, I'm not on a show debating him. Two, I remember seeing.
Oh, whoops, wrong fucking thing. Hold on, let me change the window. Hello? This is the wrong tab. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's correct.
Seeing this, I'm asking chat for the receipt. You brain dead dipshit.
an abortion who was raped. You call that a hoax. Have you retracted that statement?
So there's very deep context to that. What we're talking about when I say hoax.
But that's been proven. I mean, charged.
Right,
the rapist has been charged, and the doctor who provided the abortion fined.
So this is a really good example of the problem in the culture, where I would say, see, you don't know what I actually said, because I didn't say what you're describing.
You did. I just watched it last night.
Right, and so what I said was the fact that they politicized this to win a political point is the hoax, not that the child was abused.
How does that constitute a hoax, Tim?
So, like, let's say there's what's a good example of this? Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery is a really great example, right? So here's
No, I'm talking about this example though.
Right,
one that I just brought up.
So, right, if I can't explain to you that manipulating a story for political gain is the hoax, then I don't know
What's
what else.
the manipulation?
Oh man, this is an old story. I have to pull it up. I think the issue was that they were able to actually get the treatment in state, but because of the law, they decided to seek it elsewhere. And I said, that is a hoax. I didn't say that it was a hoax that the girl was abused. I said, if they could have sought treatment in state under the exemption, I think it was all.
You let Tim get away with lying about this on your appearance. I feel like I qualified as best as I could. I think I was saying that, like, I feel like what you're saying is not true, and if I look it up, it's not gonna be true. I think I said that on the show, and it wasn't. A lot of what he said was Ahmaud Arbery stuff was a total fucking lie. I'm glad that I felt confident enough, though, when I was on the show, I pushed him really hard on a lot of the things that he was saying. Like, and I asked a good clarifying question. So, for instance, I remember one of the things he said was like, oh,
Feedbass is like a 33%.
what did he say? Like, well, the guy
Pokeball.
took a shotgun, or they got into a fight, and that's how he got shot with a shotgun. And I'm like, how do you get into a fight and get shot with a shotgun? And then he shot him 3 times, and we're just like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, we both know what shotguns look like. How do you get into a fight with somebody with a shotgun and get shot with it? Wait, what the f are we talking about? Yeah, his takes on the Ahmaud Arbery stuff was insane. Oh, and the idea that he was wearing construction boots instead of sneakers, which was a lie. Like, that he was burglarizing homes in the area, that he was 2 miles away from his home, or 20 miles away from his home. Like, all of these facts were not true. Yeah.
Ohio, right? There was an exemption saying in the cases of abuse.
Now would be a time to be critical of Tim if Destiny was honest with critiquing this debate, but no, he's just after nitpick against Emma because spite. What? Okay. True.
The treatments are permitted, but they decided to make a public statement and leave the state anyway. I said, that is a hoax.
It was not a public statement.
Well, but that's my point.
No, rape and incest exemptions are non-actionable. This is like well documented with abortion activists. How long do you think it takes to prove a rape or incest case before you're able to use that carve-out to actually get an abortion?
Well, doesn't it depend on how the law is written? Do you have to prove it, or does it have to be alleged?
I mean, first of all,
let me just answer
rape
that
is one
point
of the
real quick so we can clarify the thing on.
Sure.
I never said it was a hoax that the girl was abused.
Okay.
That is incorrect.
But honestly, this is a part and parcel of what you do, is you put that kind of statement out there, and then you put caveats in to protect yourself.
Like, saying that someone manipulating a story for political gain is a hoax is
It's not a manipulation. That is the kind of thing that's going to continue to happen as abortion restrictions happen throughout the country.
It's an
It was
opinion.
a particularly egregious example used to shine light on broader restrictions on abortion in this country. I mean, it's an opinion, but you haven't retracted it. It's false.
It's not false. If there is a story, and the story is exaggerated or manipulated in an effort to sway people into believing one political faction over the other, you are engaging in a hoax.
I mean, isn't that what you guys do when you post like extreme videos of crime and things like
We
that?
don't do that. What are you talking about?
I mean, you respond to videos that are taken completely out of context, isolated instances.
I don't think you watch the show because that doesn't sound.
I mean, I do a little bit.
No, you don't. Because
Yeah,
we
I
don't
do.
that.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Well, that's not true because we don't do that. In fact, one of the points we make specifically is,
You show
especially
subway crime to talk about all these inflated crime numbers. Crime is down in New York City in 2023, by every metric.
Down compared to what?
Down compared to 2021 and
But don't
2022.
change the subject,
no,
right?
No,
You
I'm not.
accused us
but
of publishing
wait a minute,
videos we
wait a
don't
minute.
publish.
If it's down in compared to 2021, and there was a giant year-over-year increase from 2020 to 2021, then you're talking about something
It
that's
wasn't
down.
giant. It was a
Violent crime, New York City. I feel like if I run a podcast ever like this, we're just gonna look these numbers up on stream. Because why not just like have a nice graph? Let's just see what is the violent crime year over year. Let's just look at it. Is there like, do we have like all violent crime? It says nyc.gov. They do in a second? Oh, okay, never mind. Well, they look it up.
small bump from the
A
pandemic.
47% increase in homicide
a
in the city of
small-
New York is not a small bump.
It was homicides have been on a precipitous decline since the 70s, since the 80s, since the 90s. There was a bump because of desperation in the pandemic, and now it's back down. 80s have been on a precipitous decline since the 70s, since the 80s, since the 90s. There was
I think violent crime peaked hard in the 90s. I think it was increasing in the 70s and 80s, but
a bump because of desperation in the pandemic, and now it's back down in 2023.
So,
that's irrefutable. That's the NYPD's own data. That's on all major crimes: murders, rapes, grand larcenies,
So this
robberies.
This is an argument I'm often confronted with, and it's actually pretty terrible. So crime is down from the peak, for sure, right? In some years in New York City, we had 2,100 murders. I think that's the largest ever in the history of the city of New York. However, my standard it's not as bad as the worst time in the history of the city of New York. When I see...
Bro, do higher level items take more of these rare crafting materials? How the fuck do you get these crafting materials? I'm not gonna be able to imprint any of my shit. This is cucked. Sorry.
Murders jump year over year from about 319 to 469.
What do you mean year
That's
over year? The 2 years that I just
year
listed?
over year, as in from 2020 to 2021. That would be a year over year increase. That is a dramatic increase, and it's the largest since, I believe, 2010. The greatest year over year increase of all time in the city of New York, by the way. But it's all the way back to 2010 numbers.
It's down again.
It's down compared to the increase, but it's not down compared to 2019.
This was a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic where people's desperation and their mental health was severely harmed. People were out of work, and that kind of desperation leads to more crime. That's the reality.
I don't buy that. I don't think I buy that. I would buy a hypothesis that says that more free time led to more crime, but more desperation with the amount of aid that we were giving out, more people robbing. It's not like it was just grocery stores being robbed, right? I think a lot of the increases come from like that organized retail theft and everything too, which I don't think is like crimes of desperation, but
Reality of how crime works. Poverty leads to crime.
I
would imagine.
This is inaccurate.
Why do you think 25 people got shoved in front of trains last year?
I don't know, dude.
Well, that's answering the question. You're saying that you're saying poverty and desperation results in crime. I'm wondering why it is that you've had these homeless guys. They've been predominant. I think it's all.
This fits into Emma's argument perfectly if she can just make it. Poverty and desperation do play into crime. The people shoving people in front of trains are probably homeless people. We probably need more medical facilities to house these people, right? Like they probably are in poverty. They probably are desperate because they're mentally ill, right?
Almost entirely these homeless guys shoving people in front of trains. Last year it was 25. And so that is.
So that's a mental health problem. I mean, we do have a mental health problem in this country. We have an issue with not having socialized health care, where people are unable to access health care, mental health care in particular, but also every other kind of health care. I mean, 28 million uninsured people in this country. That's a massive problem. I mean, what is your stance on Medicare for all and health care?
I'm for universal health care.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'd have to have some kind of like.
Tim's been pretty open about this. She's like treating him like a neocon. Sometimes I think these people are like still shadow boxing with like George Bush era conservatives.
basic coverage for universal standard, meaning like if you're having an episode, this is particularly where we bring you in, we help you. If you're
Sure.
broken bones, flu, things that it's like relatively simple and knowledge-based. The challenge with it is that we got limited space, we got limited doctors, but you know, I don't think we can function as a society if we have people just dying in the streets like we do with drug abuse and, you know.
Well, then
people
you should
losing their minds.
promote housing first policies on your program. Like in Houston, what they did, there was a pilot program under Obama. It was a HUD grant. And they reduced homelessness by 63% over 10 years because they guaranteed housing. Do you think that the 25 examples that you cite last year, and there's like over 2 million subway riders a day, so you cherry picking that I feel like is...
It's not cherry picking, it's...
How's that cherry
You
picking?
mentioned that
What?
desperation leads to crime.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why it is specifically that we saw this increase. Is it like someone's desperate, but why murder somebody? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they're experiencing a mental health episode. We do not have adequate health care in this country, mental health care. I hear a lot of talk, often after mass shootings, that mental health is the most important thing in this country. Then we should have socialized health care so everyone can have access to it. And that paired with a housing first policy where cities don't become urban centers for just bridge and tunnelers who want to come in and see a show, or for restaurant associations, where places where people can actually live and there's guaranteed housing for people. If we were able to do that, we would be able to drastically reduce the crime that you guys are talking about.
So when you're talking about poverty leading to crime, like what is that based on? Because after Prohibition was
All
repealed
of human history.
during the Great Depression, crime fell.
You have to be super careful. Poverty and crime aren't necessarily linked together, and you're walking into like really sketchy areas. It's the association is going to be a little bit more sophisticated. Did I just die? What? Is this build just trash? Am I just trash? When you start saying things like just like poverty and crime are linked, I wonder if he's gonna bring up like, what about poor white rural communities whose crime rates are far lower than poor urban communities? It has to be a little bit more sophisticated.
During the Great Recession, people with your line of thinking thought we would see a crime spike nationwide. It didn't happen. You can actually look at the crime wave if you wanted to pull it up. That didn't occur. And that was the largest recession in the history of this country since the Great Depression. So what we've seen throughout American history is poverty not leading to crime. What we actually see is the opposite, that crime drives areas into poverty. We look at store closures across the country due to the fact that we have shoplifting. That leads to decaying in the neighborhoods. When people abandon the neighborhoods and you see this blight, that has a psychological impact on people, and that drives people to commit these crimes.
I mean, you're working backwards from the...
No, you're actually working backwards.
Wait, but no. Poverty, clearly, this is a very simple concept, leads to something like shoplifting. Why would someone shoplift based on a personal pathology?
She thinks motherfuckers are shoplifting pizza Lunchables. Oh, just kill me, fam. I'm not gonna be able to make it. I'm not gonna be able to make it through this. I'm not gonna be able to make it through this, dude. It's poverty tourism. I don't like it when rich people talk about what they think the poor experience is like. It's so cringe. Like, oh yeah, like shoplifting. Like, yeah, the only reason you shoplift is because you're trying to get food for your family. Like, bro, come on.
They're shoplifting because they're desperate.
Not necessarily. Like, so we have a lot.
I'm glad I'm not saying anything. Emma is bad faith and inseparable. Necro, main for life. Skelly boys, raise up. Lawson Harrison said access could of course be better, but it's not going to be a solution. We can't force an unwell person to get help with a majority of them, for whatever reason, do not want or think they need help with. Sure.
Why would someone shoplift based on a personal pathology? They're shoplifting because they're desperate.
Not necessarily. Like, so we have a lot of
pathology?
lax shoplifting
Nobody's
laws
ever
in
saying
California,
that.
For example.
So they're
And what
doing
they
it just for
find is we
fun?
have a lot of organized.
It's not for
retail theft
fun. It's
because
to
there's no
save money,
consequences.
though.
That's
Like,
For
I mean,
instance,
it's not.
People are trying to make money.
Well,
and they're desperate, and we have untold levels of income inequality in this country.
Well, is
Since-
it-
Income inequality, actually, income inequality in an area is a predictor for crime, but it's not because people are just like desperate and dying or whatever, right?
income inequality or poverty?
Since the late 70s, 900%. That's the increase in CEO.
Oh shit! I was just about to say that. She was saying 900% increase in pay to the wealthiest CEOs of companies.
Okay, versus 12% for the working class in this country.
That's
you
very
don't think
bad.
that leads to levels of desperation?
So wait, is income inequality the cause or is poverty the cause? Because those are two different things.
I mean, they go hand in hand.
They
Not
really
necessarily.
Yes, they
no.
do. Because all
Not
the
at
wealth.
No, they don't, because there are areas that experience extreme poverty that don't lead to increases in crime, like poor rural communities don't necessarily have tons of crime. Income inequality in areas, I think, tends to be a much better predictor of criminality than just poor people.
Wealth is going towards the CEOs and billionaires in this country.
But it's not a
and
zero-sum
trickling
economy.
down.
But what
I don't know.
is it?
But also, if income inequality is the driver of crime, then how come we saw a giant crime decline after the mid-90s when income inequality was going up? In fact, we saw this happen all the way to 2019.
Can you repeat that?
The income inequality being a predictor of crime is a localized effect, I believe. So when you're in areas that have high amounts of income inequality, it's not income inequality as measured across the entire country. It's income inequality as measured in like a particular area. So like neighborhoods with higher inequality or cities with higher inequality will have higher crime, not like the inequality measured across the entire country.
We had a giant crime decline from around 1995, 1996 nationwide from all the way to 2019 while income inequality was rising during that period of time.
Right.
So why would that occur if income inequality is driving crime?
I mean, I'm not exactly sure you're the expert, but I do know that you're saying that there was an increase in crime in 2021 and 2022,
Well,
and it doesn't matter now
know
that
if
it's
you can
going
see
back
this.
down to 2023 levels.
I wonder if she knew that Sean was going to be here, because if Sean's going to be here, you got to do all your reading on the crime shit, because this is like the only area that he like mass prepares for or knows like a ton about. Or not to, that sounded like I was insulting him. I just mean like this is like his specialty area. Like if you're going to debate AJW on crime, you need to have like stats and shit ready to go for this.
This is just New York
I can't
City.
see this. Yeah.
I just pulled up New York City.
Look at that. Right. Exactly.
So
So this is what I was talking about. Crime's peak violent crime was in the 90s. This just says murders, but I'm pretty sure all violent crime peaked in the 90s. And then has fallen sharply from there.
at the start of 1990, crime was at its highest, and it dropped rather massively
Yes.
into just before 2000, where it continued to decline. And then from 2019.
Why was that? I don't know if researchers have decided why it was. I think there have been three big things that I've heard, but all with varying. I don't know how much we believe in any of them. One was that one guy did that huge like correlative research on crime and lead. That a lot of lead was removed from paint, from gasoline, from a lot of different areas, from soils. That the amount of lead was massively decreasing in the like 70s and 80s, and that by the time those people got to be at criminal ages, they were less likely to be exposed to that. So there's lead gasoline and leaded like paints and everything. That's one thing I've heard. A second thing I've heard is abortion, that access to abortion after Roe v. Wade and everything was causing a lot of populations of people that might have been more predisposed towards crime, single-parent households, that could have been a massive reduction in crime. That could have been a thing. Another hypothesis I've heard was that a lot of gangs just like a lot of gangs were kind of like trying to dice up and sort out territory, and that by the 90s and onwards, they'd largely kind of like figured out like, this is our turf, this is your turf, and you know, as long as you stay the fuck away from us, we'll stay the fuck away from you, so that a lot of like gang violence decreased because people had kind of figured out more like who was selling where. In terms of like how much any of these had an impact, or what was like the crime bill, whether or not, you know, bro, this guy just did like 50% health in one shot. Whether you like it or not, it does seem to be the case that having more cops in an area does actually decrease the amount of crime in that area. And broken windows policing, however racist some of it might have been in its implementation, probably did work to decrease quite a bit, or at least have a measurable impact on crime and criminality in an area. These are all like things that I've heard. I don't know like how much any one particular thing was the thing that caused violent crime to drop, but these are like things that I've heard. Yeah.
Into 2020, we see a huge increase. That's pre-pandemic. Right. So there's a couple interesting things to point out there.
No, to be clear, that's not
Also,
that's not
this
pre-pandemic. That's the year-over-year increase. So
Right.
it would be in the year 2020. To be clear, so 2019 would be the low number.
The increase actually, the draw is before 2020, meaning that could be 2018 to 19 then if that's 2019.
No, it's I've seen these numbers. I'm telling you, you're reading this chart wrong because in New York City, do they have the raw number of homicides on the side? If you track it, you have around.
Yeah, this is just
because
murders
this is
too,
just
by the way.
murders right here.
Right.
You
Guys-
have about 300, and then it jumps to about 469.
I mean, crime dropped everywhere throughout the country since lead gasoline was outlawed. There is a massive connection, lead paint, lead gasoline predominantly affecting poor and lower income people, which probably did contribute to some of the increase in volatility in that.
Well,
kind of instance.
I completely agree. I read that report. It was fascinating that when we started taking lead out of the atmosphere, crime started to drop. But that would also make the argument that it's not poverty driving crime. It was like chemical imbalance or something.
It's both. It's absolutely both.
Well, I think it would.
Real-
I think it
real-
would play a role. Like the lead would play a role because it was in gasoline, so it was in
Right,
the
it's
air.
everywhere.
Yeah, so it's
And
impacting
we know
everyone.
it depresses brain function and things like that.
True,
Yeah.
but I think public policy has a huge impact as well because again, we saw a dramatic crime. This crime wave started in the 1960s, right? And this is when we started embracing this idea that poverty was the root cause of crime, that this was more the realm of the social workers, all things that sound really familiar to today. And from 1960 all the way to 1979, the incarceration rate, even though in raw numbers it was rising, was dropping per capita. So we saw this crime increase, and what you would end up getting in 1979 for murder, on average, was something like 5 years. For rape, it was something like 3.4 years. And obviously, like, this created a problem because we just weren't prosecuting people. This is why we ended up going with a mass incarceration solution, which, by the way, did work. And all these other policies to get tough on crime. You laugh, but you're definitely
No, I mean,
wrong.
mass incarceration, we incarcerate more people than any other country.
We have the highest rate of violent crime for any modern Western country.
I mean, I don't have that statistic in front of me, but we still, so how does that connect to the mass incarceration point? If it worked, then what does the violent crime rate have to do with it? You just want to warehouse more people?
No, I didn't say. When I say it worked, we started expanding the prison population seriously in the 1980s to the 1990s. If you go to the Brennan Center for Criminal Justice, which is a left-wing organization, they say post the year 2000, mass incarceration lost its effectiveness. But most of the mass incarceration was pre the year 2000. So obviously it had some impact, and it ranges. Low estimates are about 6% on the crime rate, which is very low, but the high estimates are about 30%. And the reason it worked is because the philosophy behind mass incarceration is pretty simple. What you're trying to do is incapacitate criminals because the same criminals are often reoffending. You brought up shoplifting earlier. You can actually pull up an article to find out that the same 300 people in New York City represent a third of the shoplifting arrests total for a single year.
Probably because
This is
they're
because they're
incredibly
repeat offenders.
impoverished and they need to find a way to actually sustain their livelihoods in this country.
Marshall Elstad, 99.99. Jesus. If you had to identify broadly what causes increase in crime rates, what is it? Class jealousy and too much free time, or something else entirely? This is not going to be a very data-driven answer. What I would say is that people, broadly speaking, are going to take the path of least resistance that leads to the most reward. That's what I would say, broadly speaking. So the goal should probably be to increase the friction on illegitimate sources of income and to decrease the friction on legitimate sources of income. So for instance, if you are in an area where criminality is not very available, I don't know if in Omaha, Nebraska, at least where I live, I don't know if I could have made money selling drugs. I don't know where to start, but there's a path forward where I can go to school, go to college, and get a job, then that's probably going to be the path that you would follow, right? If the path before you is your school kind of sucks, not many people graduate, and college is maybe whatever, but you got an opportunity to, sling dope on a corner or go work for somebody, illegitimately, you're probably going to follow that path. I think that people tend to just follow very predictable paths in society, so the goal policy should be to designate or design paths that are as fruitful for society as possible, right? That should be like the goal in good policy. Do you think that culture plays a part as well? Yeah, culture is probably going to be an augmenting force as well. In some cases, it might have a weak effect. In some cases, it might have an incredibly strong effect. If you take a black person and you throw them into a pretty wealthy neighborhood with wealthy parents and they go to good schools, I don't know if gang culture is going to make this guy all of a sudden like hood out. I don't think that's going to happen. But some cultures are probably incredibly protective. So for instance, certain, I don't like to say Asian culture because there are a lot of different types, but certain like, I could probably say like Jewish culture, like highly values things like education and achievement and some like moral standard. Like that's probably going to be a protective factor even against Jewish people in like poorer areas would be my guess. So cultural factors are probably going to be protective or be aggravators, I guess, of positive and negative things respectively, depending on what you're talking about. But that would be like another thing that kind of like sits over the top of everything else, I think.
That's put a very good way. That's phrased very well to maintain their livelihoods.
Well, no, I mean, no, they're...
Incapacitate criminals because the same criminals are often reoffending. You brought up shoplifting earlier.
Asians value education too. Why do you shy away from saying Asians value education? Because Asian is like so broad, and I feel like different people come to the United States for different reasons, and I feel like there's different like groups of immigrants. So like for instance, like I've heard of a lot of like Chinese. Well, not the Chinese people that came over initially for like building our railroads, but like, for instance, Chinese immigration students today come over, tend to be participating in Ivy League or really high level state schools or whatever. Like Chinese immigrants tend to do really well. I think South Korean immigrants, I think also tend to be very wealthy, come over and do well. I haven't heard the same about like, say like Japanese foreign exchange students. I don't know why, if maybe that data exists and I just haven't heard it. And then people from like Southeast Asia, I don't hear as much, but yeah. I think usually when we talk about like really good Asian immigrants in the United States, I think we're usually talking about Chinese people. So I try to be careful not to just like, I don't want to just like put all of the Asian people in the same boat, you know? Like people from Vietnam and Cambodia and Malaysia, and the Philippines. That's considered Asia, right? Philippines should be considered Asia, right? Are probably going to be a lot different in terms of educational outcomes and income bracket as compared to people from like South Korea and China, you know?
True.
That'd be my guess, but yeah.
And India.
You can actually pull up an article to find out that the same 300 people in New York City represent a third of the shoplifting arrests total for a single year.
Probably because
This is
they're
because they're
incredibly
repeat offenders.
impoverished and they need to find a way to actually sustain their livelihoods in this country.
That's put a very good way. That's phrased very well to maintain their livelihoods.
Well, no, I mean, no, their life is a better way to maintain.
Sure, but like, I guess my point is, some of them certainly are desperate. But when you see videos of a guy like shoveling stuff into a garbage bag, that's not desperation.
But again, this is what you do, Tim. You return to anecdotal examples when I'm trying to talk about.
We're talking about just the 300 people.
And I am talking
which is the anecdotal evidence.
What 300 people?
He said the same 300 people, the ones committing the crime. I said,
a third of the shoplifting arrests in New York City.
These specific individuals are doing it for profit.
Okay, so we should have a system of mass incarceration because there are 300.
I didn't say that.
Because I'm talking to you now. There are 300 repeat offenders.
No, we should incapacitate repeat offenders so they stop offending.
Got
so
it.
If
so
you're
this is
arrested,
all about the fact that you're not in favor of bail reform because in New York State, which is now currently being rolled back, we decided that we weren't going to require cash bail for nonviolent felonies and for misdemeanors. And you think that that's a good policy?
That's so weird.
To not require cash bail?
Yeah.
No.
I think that we're rolling it back.
I think look, if you're concerned about people not being able to get out of jail because of their financial means, then I can understand reducing or even eliminating the cash bail system. Because I understand if you don't have a lot of money, even though you really only have to throw down 10% for bail in most cases, unless it's like a set figure for the bond, then I get that argument. But what you need, and the state of New York desperately needs this, is some kind of threat assessment. Like you should be able to hold somebody if they present themselves as a danger or a repeat offender, regardless of bail, without bail, so that they don't continue to reoffend.
Okay, but do you know what happens when people are held in Rikers, for example, in a pre-detention center? How many deaths have happened there before they're even convicted of a crime?
Look, again, that's an issue for how the jailing system works in New York City, and I am in favor of building out the jail capacity because
you're talking about cash bail, though. That is exactly the point that we're discussing here.
Yeah.
Right. So you're in favor of people being held before they're convicted of a crime.
Yes.
In Rikers.
If
Even
they
though there are
show a
deaths and
propensity to reoffend, 100%.
What is a propensity to reoffend?
A history, like being arrested over and over again, prior conviction.
Wow, Manic Pixie, welcome to Tier 5 Cyber Clever. Oof, that's spooky.
Yes.
So you think that they should be held in a prison that has been...
It's a jail, but yes.
Yeah, or jail, excuse me. A jail that has been proven to be
Okay,
one of
we
the
got
worst
it.
conditions in the country.
Well, it doesn't have to be specifically
Suicides,
Rikers Island.
Dozens of deaths just this year, even if they haven't been convicted of a crime.
Convicted of a crime.
Convicted of a crime.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think
But that's very anti-constitutional and anti-democratic.
How is it anti-constitutional?
The
There
Fourth
we go.
Amendment. It violates the Fourth Amendment.
Protects you from illegal search and seizures.
Well, I mean, you are
I think it's
the
the
right to a speedy
Fifth?
trial. People
Is it
are
Fifth?
held
I
there.
do
I'm
think-
sorry, Fifth Amendment. Yes.
I do think we should
I
have
could-
reform
Yeah.
on the speedy trial side, but the idea that it's unconstitutional to hold somebody pre-trial is ridiculous. Our law is based on English common law.
6. Damn.
Yeah,
Mild?
our law is
Yeah.
based on English common law, and the reason we have jails is that you would
Wow,
actually be
that's
held
a-
in a dungeon
That's a
awaiting
guy.
trial. So it's like
6
built
special
into the system.
defense
Bail
and
is like a
11
courtesy.
HP is
It's actually a
kinda not
progressive
that
reform in
good.
response to that,
Eh.
where you lay down some kind of capital in
Let's
place
see
of
what
yourself.
ability it
How
is.
the
much
idea-
money do you want to spend on jails in New York City?
As much as it takes.
So just
Yeah.
warehousing people before they're convicted of anything.
Well, again, it's not warehousing everybody, but if you have a propensity to reoffend, I think judges should be able to have judgment. It's kind of in the name. And assess
No,
these
it's
people and
Marvel
hold them.
scale,
So
dude.
you just
Why?
want to give it to the judgment of the judges.
That's so
and it
fucking
doesn't-
I would like the
annoying.
judges to have judgment, yes.
Okay,
stupid
but
game.
there should be guardrails in place to prevent judges from. I mean, judges are human beings; they can be unjust as well. I don't really put them
Well,
on
you
the
could
pedestal that you do.
obviously I'm not in favor of like a $1 million bond for somebody who's arrested for shoplifting, even if they're arrested 27 times. So yeah, you can have guardrails from the legislature, but they can't assess dangerousness.
Oh,
right
you
now
guys
in the
already
state of New York.
left?
They assess it in ways.
All you have to do is walk through walls? What the fuck is Crack Beach? Oh, you're stupid. Beach is easy as fuck.
The reason we put this law into place, which is now being rolled back, that were deemed inherently racist. They
How
deemed
so?
that it was disproportionately black and brown people who are
Okay,
warehouse
but how's
and
that
Rikers.
racist though?
Because at their discretion, it was implemented in a racist way. It's
But
the
if you
same
look
way
at the
that
crime
stop and frisk.
statistics, they're
Well, there you go.
disproportionately
So
black and
you're so
Hispanic.
this is what the reality is for you: is you believe that black and Hispanic people inherently are committing
When did I say
more
inherently?
crimes. I mean, this
If
is.
you pull up like NYPD crime data, for instance, since you brought up stop and frisk, you can look at the shootings, like the shooting suspects in any given year. And if you find me a year where 92% or greater is not black or Hispanic in terms of the shooting suspects, then I mean, I would be shocked because I've looked at it
Oh,
for
the
the past
suspects.
20 years.
So
Yeah,
that's the
suspects.
cops'
Okay, so it's
discretion.
boom, boom.
So
No, no.
Oh, you got it. You just have to eat this one. Black people and Hispanic people commit more crime than white people. Like that's. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with biting that bullet. It's not even a bullet to bite.
True.
Like that should logically follow from they're living worse conditions. They've got less educational opportunity available. Like it's easy to bite that bullet and then advance the conversation. You cannot do this silly dance where you're trying to pretend that we're trying to pretend that they don't. It's just everybody here is sounding ridiculous. Like why do this? It's so stupid.
Oh, you get a report,
Right.
and you get a description of the suspect, and they are 92% every single year or above black or Hispanic.
Can I tell you guys a very famous New York story? There was a black cop, and he went to Central Park and started giving out tickets to white couples having picnics and drinking wine. And he said public alcohol consumption is a crime in the city, and he started giving these uppity yuppies tickets.
Right.
He got in serious trouble. The reason he did it was because the cops would go into the black neighborhoods and give people drinking 40s on their stoops tickets. And he said, how can these people at their own homes, on their own porches, get a ticket for drinking booze? Then when I go into Central Park and say, we're going to apply the same standard, I get in trouble for it. So New York's got serious problems. Even Bloomberg, like that guy's awful. He made a bunch of.
This is why you have the brown bag. Put your shit in a brown bag, get publicly drunk, and nobody can fuck with you for it.
Like, I'm not going to say
but
that.
the reason I just want to cut you off because you mentioned Bloomberg, and I want to respond to what you said. Under Bloomberg, 90% of the stop and frisks that were done were, by the way, they didn't find anything. but 90%
Hello?
targeted
Controller,
black
please,
and brown
work.
people. So you're taking.
So the
you're
highest
taking,
number,
no,
by
no,
the way,
no,
is
no, no, no.
86%.
No, 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 no,
You're
no, no,
taking
no, no,
the
no, no,
data,
no, no, no.
You're taking the data and using what the cops did, where they over-police in certain areas, and then pretending like there's an overrepresentation inherently, criminally, in those kinds of populations. And
There absolutely is an overrepresentation of crime in those populations. How can, oh my God, she's gonna get eviscerated on this conversation with fucking Sean. Why would she even try this?
it's
Okay.
a racist argument.
So you're wrong in a bunch of
It's a
different ways, so
racist?
let me
What do
just
you
like
mean
run
it's
through them.
racist?
So first and foremost, the highest year was 86%, and that was the year with the dramatic increase in stops. And if you ask me if I'm in favor of just expanding stop and frisk, which is different from Giuliani's stop, question, and frisk, although, you know, you might not be
They are
interested in that
cooking.
specific difference, to the levels that Bloomberg did, I would say it's unnecessary, it aggravates people, it creates a whole bunch of problems. That being said,
The woman is from the Majority Report, and she has a lot of really stupid opinions about shit. And Destiny's roasted her like a bunch of fucking times.
Not over targeted because again there is no year during the entire tenure of Bloomberg where the shooting suspects were any less than 92%. So what the NYPD does, because it's the most data-driven police force in the entire world, is they map crime through a system.
I didn't even
called
watch Tim
CompStat. When
Pool.
there's a
I'm
lot
just
of
listening
shootings
to
in a
this
specific
because
area, they send the
Destiny's
police to
reacting to
those
it.
areas. The stops, questions, and frisks all relate to where the shootings are, and it just so happens to be those areas are black or Hispanic.
Right, but
And by the
do you get accosted on the street by cops regularly in New York City?
It happened to me when I was younger, yes, but like not now.
Okay, but do you understand
But
how
to your point about hit
90%
rate,
how-
because you brought it up, hit rate was not the goal of stop, question, and frisk. Like this is one of the things where you're like, oh well, this program didn't work because my standard that I look for arbitrarily shows that it was ineffective. That's like saying a plane doesn't work because it's not a good submarine.
No, it's
like
not
that doesn't
arbitrary.
make any sense.
90% of the stop and frisks came up with nothing.
True, but the point was to
So
deter
say-
the
say you were
carrying of
doing-
firearms.
Say, have you done
Well,
illegal
but-
drugs in your life?
Maybe.
I have. I could have been stopped and frisked.
Whoa!
And I could have gone to prison. or I
Illegal
could have been held
drugs.
if I had a little bit less money in Rikers indefinitely until my trial came. Because a cop just decided, hey, I'm going to stop and frisk you, but they wouldn't do that to me because I'm a white woman.
That's nice,
Well, let
but
me
anyway, it's
just-
about shootings,
I wanna-
and the point of the program,
No, it's
and
not
this is
about
stated
shootings.
quite
That's
literally
nice.
to deter people from carrying illegal firearms.
And
It's
That's a nice
absolutely
good
not.
chat.
It 100%
Wait,
is.
are you in favor of gun control?
This is what
I'm
I'm
not-
saying.
Okay.
I'm a
Okay,
New
so
Yorker,
we've
so I'm
got
not
it.
like a
We've-
big gun guy, but
Problem. Let me. This
We've
is my
got
point
to target guns,
I'm
and
gonna-
that's why stop
you
and
definitely
frisk-
gotta target
I'm gonna
illegal
agree
guns
with
for
Emma,
sure.
but Emma's not gonna agree with me. The idea that the police can decide to arbitrarily stop people because they might be carrying a firearm violates the Second and Fourth Amendments.
Well, again-
Stop and frisk is completely unconstitutional. in my
That's
opinion.
why Fourth Amendment was in my mind. I was
Well,
thinking about
again,
stop and
it's
frisk.
you're supposed to stop, question, and frisk, and usually
no.
it's based on reasonable suspicion, and they're
That
supposed
what
to.
I'm bearing arms
They're
under the
supposed to.
Constitution.
Okay, wait, is Sean in my chat right now? I don't know why you would have a program called Stop, Ask, and Frisk or Stop and Frisk if the stop is based on reasonable suspicion. You don't need any extra program. If a cop has reasonable suspicion you've committed a crime, then he's got the right to perform an investigation, and you have to sit there and allow him to do so, right?
They're supposed to follow the
Oh,
Terry
we
standard.
surf here. We surf.
This
dude
idea
dies.
that because
This guy wants
a
to use
particular group of people
thunder.
may be carrying guns, we're gonna go start
We go to
stopping a whole bunch of
him.
them. I'm like, the Constitution protects our right to keep and bear arms in the first
Okay, we
place.
just-
So now
okay.
you're violating, you're using you're ignoring the Second Amendment and using that and by ignoring it, now you're.
I mean, I guess I
violating
can
the
just do this.
As a side
and
note,
just
it's
make
not
sure
true
I
that
have
Hispanics
surf
commit
on
more
me.
crimes per capita than white people. Florida, for example, a higher rate of white crime than Hispanic crime. That might be true. For some reason, collecting data around Hispanic people has been really weird because a lot of like there are some data points that will mix Hispanic people with white people. That sometimes that's why you'll see whites and Hispanics, or that sometimes you'll see data that says non-white Hispanics. But I don't actually know if anybody knows what Hispanic even is or means. Like, I don't actually know if I'm supposed to put Hispanic when I'm being asked questions, because sometimes, like in the United States, we've got race and ethnicity, and I think for ethnicity I'll put Caucasian, because I'm pretty sure I am. But then under race, it'll ask different questions. And then we've had these arguments on stream before for like, what does Latino mean? What does race mean? Or I'm sorry, what does Hispanic mean? What's the difference between race and ethnicity?
Fast,
we got into
what
that
to
argument
do,
with Annalicia, and I thought she was super wrong on something, but apparently in Canada, they use ethnicity or race in either the opposite or a completely different way than we use it in the United States. Like, all of that shit is like really weird.
Yeah,
I don't know
nice
if
move
like,
on this
when it comes to
guy.
Hispanic stuff, I think it's kind of hard sometimes because you don't always measure it. That's why sometimes even in like criminality stuff, I've seen it where it'll say like
I also don't have
non-white
a nice move
Hispanics,
on
or
this
it'll say
guy.
whites and Hispanics.
Jesus Christ. Bro.
The stop is based on suspicion initially, match description of shooting an area, questioning determines whether a search is conducted. Gotcha.
Fourth Amendment. I mean, this is
Something else that libertarians also bring up that's probably important too is when you're trying to measure the criminality of a group of people, sometimes it's important to bring up average age as well. So for instance, criminality is
Baited Firo into CB quick attack. Oh, choice band. I didn't even realize it was choice banded, I'm not gonna lie. True. Good strat. Yeah, I mean, that's free as fuck, yeah. Bro, I've never even known that this thing was choice banded just because every time I've ever done this fight, I've always had a fast electric type and just like Oko both these guys in a row. And it just like put out whatever the fuck to like kill the Grand Bull and Mawile. True. I mean, that's pretty fucking easy, right? And then it's just a matter of like killing the Grand Bull. What is it? Missy? Parasol Lady Missy? This guy's gonna be intimidated. I mean, I could get Hari to 55, but I kind of don't want to do that. I don't think anything else Okos, though. Is Aggro on Rockhead? I forget. It's been a couple days. Well, it's been like a week. Oh, he is. Yeah. When do you get superpower on this guy? This guy might be my other fighting type. Because I don't have anything. Oh, I should have it already. Oh, I do have it already. Okay. Amazing. And it doesn't do enough. Cool. What are we doing here? Because the problem is that, yeah, you're gonna bait quick attack, but then it's gonna be like random move, which means you have to account for the other slot, potentially dying to earthquake, basically. I mean, well, this is double battle. The double intimidate kind of sucks. Or not double intim, but like, just intimidate in general just kind of sucks. Yeah, I just have like Ments and I think I only have Mence and Gyarados. I mean, oh, I could Declaw. But then you're like -2 when Mawile comes out. I guess it doesn't matter, but I could probably just, yeah, I could probably just Mence. Because, like, what are my BA guys? I have... Oh, we got the Donnie, yeah. Yeah, we got the Donnie, and then we have both Fossils or BA. We're trying to delay the Kabutops for now. Yeah, because, like, unfortunate, like, because when you get into Meteor Falls, you don't have Rock Tomb. I'm probably going to wind up putting a scale on this guy anyway. Just because, like, this thing is cracked, to be honest. But, like, the Rock Tomb scale would be nice, but also, like, if I just get Ancient Power, I'm gonna be like destroying Winona. I feel like, I think Rock Tomb Oko's Articuno and Moltres though. Like it might not even matter, but it'd still be pretty nice. Steelix is probably gonna put in a lot of work on that fight. Is he? No, he's sturdy. Or maybe, yeah, maybe bring this guy, I think. Oh, he did EQ. That's fine, it doesn't matter. This guy can't crit me, right? How much does Firo do? Wait, Firo, Phil. Oh my god, what the fuck? This is so much damage from crit. Holy shit, bro. I outspeed Mawile though, I think. So it should be fun. On Omastar, I mean. Yeah, it should be fun. Yeah, we just declaw and surf again. Oh, oh, okay, well, he just did that. Okay. No, why did you double protect? You fucking asshole. Oh, man. Yikes. Xatu sees kill against Omastar. So we gotta switch here. Here, hold on, let me double check this. We do that, and then we're just gonna switch to Gyarados. Perfectly fine. Oh wait, no, we just do... I guess go back to Gyarados, because he resists both of this guy's moves. Oh yeah, this is free. Enemy Earthquake. Easy. Honestly, he would have tanked it, bro. This guy's an impish. Okay, well, he would have died to crit, but we're fine. He's such a tank. Steelix is crazy with it. 200 defense? How the fuck did they design a Pokemon with that? Also, honestly, like, Steel Ground is a pretty good typing. Alright, we're gonna make sure that we don't, kill our fucking Salamence here. We always die to Ice Beam. I could just teach immense rock slide, but yeah, I'll just lead Almastar and then probably baits Pincer Earthquake. Yeah, if it's Pincer, EQ. We're just going to mince on that. And then it's Vibrava. Yeah, I can just stay in and declaw if I really wanted to. And we can also just bring Dugong for security. This guy... No, I think Masquerain always uses Hydro Pump here, so I think we're good. Cool. Amazing. Weezing. I didn't even realize I was 28 special attack on Salamence. That's wild. I don't have a psychic type, right? Yo, we got the big P2. Yo, this guy is a psychic type. Holy. Absolute guy. Oof. What about like shark? E. Let me see what it baits. I think it's just gonna. Yeah, P2 should bait Lunatone. Oh, and it should always be Psychic. Okay. Yeah, because his special attack is way higher. So it should be Psychic. Ooh, Magathon seems pretty good. Oh, Aggron is like the best. True. Easy. Oh, I outspeed 81. Oh my, or 51, I mean. That's wild. Dude, plus speed Aggron is actually crazy. Okay, and then I think I was just gonna do Donphan. Oh, I need a surf guy with me. I have Gyarados with me. Aggron. Aggron should just bait Thunder. Like, there's no question about that. And so you just go to Donphan for free, and then you do Thingy-Mabobber, so yeah. Sludge Bomb, that was a crit. Perfectly fine. We use Flash Cannon, we Oko. This guy wants to use Thunder, we go to him. And now we hit Smash. Beautiful. Are there berries over here? No. I'm like kind of used to run and bun. There's like some shit in run and bun that you get. Honestly, I think I'm gonna end stream because I'm just kind of not planning for fucking Weather Institute. So.